Finally, we get to talk Lakers on Compas on the Beat, and we have the perfect expert for that. Now introducing Kyle Goon, the Lakers beat reporter for the O.C. Register, LA Daily News, and all of the Southern California News Group papers. Kyle, how are you doing? And be honest with us, was this greeting better than the one you got from Andre Drummond?
It's not. It's
Wow.
not better. So Andre's up here. You got there's a lot of enthusiasm, but it's really about consistency. It's really about over time building up. I was saying this on another podcast the other day. The thing I really appreciate about Andre, which is, by the way, there's no story there. The story is he kept doing that, but when a guy goes a month in is keeping up the bit, you just got to respect it, right? You just got to respect that the commitment to the bit, and then Andre's got that for sure.
Kyle, I saw a Spectrum did like a clip of all the Kyle Goons from Andre Drummond, so I thought that was hilarious. So I remember that, and I told Fernando to make sure to mention that in the intro. But Kyle, first of all, I see you drinking the coffee. Hopefully, you're recovering from a very long Lakers season. It might feel like 2 seasons back to back. No vacation time. There's a championship and a lot of chaos the year after that. But let's just start with you. How are you feeling? How was it, covering this past season for the Lakers?
Yeah, it was. Honestly, it really wasn't that much fun. And I think everyone in sports understands that right now. I think sports fans understand that right now because what makes that fun is the big event feel, the games, having fans. Did the Chargers even end up having fans? They had some? No. Right.
I think only in Denver and Miami did they allow fans in any of their games. So that was it.
And I don't even remember because it feels so long ago now. I mean, like even the Super Bowl feels a long time ago now. So it's just it just has not been the same. I've sort of privately called this sort of the joyless season because the players and the coaches and the fans and the media are not having fun. And I think you're seeing that now with a slight return to normal, even though when I was in Phoenix, there were 16,000 people. I was like, is anybody going to wear a mask here? Like you can be vaccinated and still get COVID. Right. So that kind of gave me anxiety, and I hope that we're not experiencing some spreading events and that a lot of those people are vaccinated. But it's really been a grind this year. And, once it kind of felt like the Lakers are not ready to do anything super special, I was sort of like, well, chalk that one up to what this year is. Unfortunately, I mean, AD got injured. LeBron was not 100%. And it's sort of like, well, at that point, what's going to happen with this team? What's going to be remembered about this team? And it's just never. It just wasn't going to go anywhere good at that point.
Kyle, with the injuries, we saw AD wasn't 100%. He got hurt in that series against the Phoenix Suns. LeBron wasn't 100%, but say they were all healthy. Do you think that would have been enough to beat the Suns, or was it more of a mental drain? They were already kind of out of it because of the such a long championship season, short kind of turnaround, and then everything you brought up with COVID and all that stuff. But is it just a physical thing where they were healthy, they'll be okay, or was it just it was just too much for them this year?
I don't know if they would have won the championship. I think they would have beaten the Suns fully healthy. And I think of these playoff series like an arm wrestling match, right? It's sort of like you guys start 50-50 and each win kind of changes the angle of how much leverage you have, how much control you have of the series. So in that game 3 win, even though AD was a little nicked up, they had such a fun and lively second half to that game 3 win. And obviously that's when LeBron's showing up, Jay Crowder, and feeling good enough to show people up, which we had just not seen in a long, long time to that point. And so I kind of felt like the angle of the arm wrestling match was the Lakers just had a pretty good angle on them. And then when AD gets hurt, even though the series was even, it was like, oh, it's actually in the Suns' favor now, and winning at Staples Center, and just feeling like they had the momentum behind them. So I thought you know, the AD injury changed a lot of things, but I do agree with you in the sense I don't know if this team had enough to win it all. I don't know if this team had enough to beat the way the Jazz look right now, which looks really good. And frankly, the Suns are really good. I think it seems like it's playing out that we're going to see a Jazz Suns Western Conference final, which based on what those teams have done this year and the consistency they had, important word here is consistency. Those are two of the teams that have the most played 5-man lineups all year, and were able to play together. And the Lakers just never had that. So I do question whether the Lakers had the cohesion to get there, just because the pieces weren't all melded together like they were the year before.
Gilbert, you heard that, right? Consistency. Andre Drummond was consistent with Kyle Goon's name. Phoenix is consistent, and so was Utah. So that's what it's all about. But Kyle, you heard the Lakers say that some players have said they want to run it back with this core group because they were never healthy together. But do you think they'll run it back with the same team, or do you think they'll chase a third star, try and go for maybe a Bradley Beal, or maybe try and get Damian Lillard out of Portland? Do you see them trying to go for that third star, or keeping the same core?
I mean, I do. I think they'll try. They don't have a lot of options. That's their problem. They don't have a lot of draft capital. They don't have great contracts to trade, in the sense of, it's like, let's say you want to make an offer on Bradley Beal, who seems like he might be closer to that than Dame right now. But like, let's say you want to make that offer and you pile up, I don't know, first of all, you have to sign Dennis Schroeder to get close to the money. So you need to do a sign and trade somehow with Dennis Schroeder, and then you stack up Kyle Kuzma and KCP, and I don't know if Montrezl Harrell opts in or something like that doesn't add. Like, if you look just what the Bucks had to pay for Drew Holiday this past season with all those draft picks and Eric Bledsoe and gosh, I forget who else, but it's a lot more. It's just a lot more than the Lakers have in their war chest. So look, I mean, I think they'll look, I think they'll sniff. I think, that's the way that the Lakers understand their franchise works. Especially, I think it's, even though Rob Pelinka may take some blame for how the season went, and probably appropriately, he's changed the context in which the Lakers try to do business. They're not hunting around the margins anymore, right? They're trying to take big swings, which is what the franchise has traditionally done. So I mean, they just don't have a lot of tools in their toolbox. They're right up against the salary cap. And they're probably going to, if they want something big, they're probably going to have to sign and trade Schroeder to do it, just based on the mechanics, or take out valuable members of the rotation and guys who aren't at the top of their market value because they didn't play well against the Suns. So I don't know. I mean, I think some guys will certainly come back better because there was no offseason. There was a lot of guys who came in just, 6 weeks between the end of the championship and training camp. So everyone was trying to get in shape during the season itself, and that just didn't really work out the way the Lakers wanted. So I think a significant number of people will be back, and then the Lakers might do something surprising, but maybe not that level of superstar.
So if there is a shakeup, Kyle, who do you see leaving the team? I mean, it felt like Dennis Schroeder, he turned down that contract extension during the season, and then he had a good game one against this. I think it was game one or game two against the Suns, but then it just seemed like it didn't click for him. I know Laker fans are split on him. And do you see Andre Drummond maybe coming back? Or I mean, he joined the team late. And then Montrezl Harrell also saw his numbers slip, and then there were some questionable things going on with him on social media, and all that. So do you feel like there could be a huge shakeup with those three guys, especially this offseason?
Yeah, I think there could be, but you know, I guess what I really hold back on is you can't really see the full assembly of moves available to the Lakers because, you know, guys are gonna be in on free agency, or guys are gonna want to get out of their situations. There's gonna be, you know, if there's a I really wonder what's gonna happen with a guy like Kyle Lowry, for example, who's a free agent who probably wants to get paid, but then if the Lakers can figure something out with him, bring him in on a team friendly deal, like obviously you might want that. So it's, I don't know. I could see like none of them coming back. I could also see the Lakers being like, man, like we are up against it with the salary cap. Like we got to bring at least Dennis back because he he's at a position where you need help, and you're just not gonna, based on if you let him walk, you can't get a better guy than him unless Kyle Lowry really wants to give you a friendly contract, which I don't know if that's true. He's still somewhat in his prime, end of his prime, 34, 35. So it's there's just a lot of a story to be played out there, right? There's just it's really hard to see where all the pieces fit, and I think that's why you heard Rob Pelinka sort of say, "Hey, like we do believe that we had the championship pieces," because if the Lakers kind of find themselves against a wall and have to bring themselves back, if Rob Pelinka says, "Oh, we didn't have the pieces to win a championship year," how's he going to walk that back?
Yeah.
One, if they have to bring guys back and run it back. So I do think there are limited options, but it's the Lakers. They're gonna try. They're gonna try to do something big for sure.
I want to take you back to the bubble in Orlando, and I don't know if you even want to go back to the bubble in Orlando and think about it, because I saw LeBron on his HBO barbershop show say he does not want to hear the word Orlando at all because it's kind of a trigger for him because of what happened in those 3 months in the bubble. But I just want to know your experience in the bubble. Is it just all pretty much negative? Was it kind of fun covering a championship team there? Is it something you're going to kind of take back in 10 years and be like, whoa, I got to cover something that probably won't ever happen again as a sports reporter?
Oh no, that second sentiment. I feel that now. Like if I could go back in time and they said, okay, you can cover the bubble or you can stay at home, and I had that choice again, I would say, okay, yeah, I'll go back and cover. Do I want to do a second season in the bubble? Absolutely not. No one does. And that was just like that became clear as guys were leaving. I had a player from another team tell me the night that his team was eliminated, like, yeah, you know what? I got kids. Like if they do this again next season, like I'll just stay home. Or, people with families just did not want to go through that again, especially. It was harder than people without families. Like I'm not married now, I don't have kids, but it was just like being stuck at work, and being around everybody at work for 3 months. So it was just, it strained the parts of my personality that sometimes just wants to be left alone. It strained the part of me that just sometimes needs a step back from basketball. It needs to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit. There was just no outs from it. Of course, you're just working nonstop because you realize how unique the opportunity is, and you're only one of a few people there, and you're trying to do your best to tell the world about it. So it was just like a sort of vicious, like, working cycle, and I think a lot of players felt that. I think players probably felt bored, but also there was this element of when you lose a game. I wrote a story with Danny Green about this. Like when you lose a game, you're just sitting in that for 2 days. You're just stewing in your defeat. You can't, take your mind off it. You can't go grab dinner with a friend out or do something to distract you. So you're just always living in the game one way or another. So I think that was really challenging. So, in terms of the Lakers getting an asterisk on their championship, no way. Come on. That was so hard. That season was so crazy. It's like a 13-month season. Never been a longer season. Like the circumstances of the Lakers season from the China trip, that was the China trip from hell, Kobe Bryant dying in the middle of the year and just putting strain on a team that's never been put on before into the bubble and trying to being the championship favorites, but trying to finish it out when they had a veteran team with guys with a lot of families and guys who inherently would not enjoy that environment. So I just think it's crazy that people question the difficulty of that. That was an insanely difficult feat.
It's crazy because even LeBron said his daughter wants to go to Orlando or to Disney World, and he's like, I ain't going back.
No
to Disney
way,
World.
no way.
Especially after it was home. But Kyle, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? I mean, what made you become a sports reporter, and where's home, and tell us a little bit about your time covering the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, I'm from Maryland, and sports writing kind of. I've been doing journalism for a long time since I was in high school. I did my high school newspaper, my college newspaper, and then I got an internship in Utah, where I actually worked for 8 years. So sports reporters know this sort of chain of, and I don't know if this is done as traditionally as it used to be done, but high school to small college to larger college, Pac-12. I covered the University of Utah. And then my last year, I covered the Utah Jazz, and I covered them in the playoff series where this is almost forgotten now, but they essentially ended the Lob City Clippers. That it was a 7-game series, first round, and the Jazz beat the Clippers, and I think that was the last. Yeah, that was Chris Paul's last year there. So that ended Lob City. And then the next year, I covered Donovan Mitchell's rookie year, which it's hard to remember now, I think, for the outside world, but they lost Gordon Hayward in free agency. That was like the biggest domino of free agency that year. And it was just, what are we going to do? Like we built up for 6 or 7 years behind this guy. This was supposed to be our guy, the franchise star Gordon Hayward was. And now that seems like crazy. But he was, and then the rookie comes in and immediately is like a 20-point per game scorer. Like it was crazy. He was, and it's kind of incredible to see Donovan where he is now, and people recognizing in year 4 how great he is, because he was really great as a rookie. I mean, I watched a playoff series where he beat Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. Like that's almost a lost series because people don't even remember that one. The one that people remember those Thunder guys losing, and Melo wasn't on the team anymore, but was the bye-bye way by Damian Lillard, because it was such an iconic moment. But the year before, they lost to a team led by a rookie. So it's just kind of interesting to see.
Kyle, is he built? My bad, real quick. Is he built more like a football player? He looks like a football player. Like,
oh yeah,
he looks bigger than most basketball guys.
Yeah, he's got these like broad shoulders that you see, which I think are really good for creating space for the kinds of shots that he goes in for. He's been compared to Dwayne Wade and how he drives to the rim and how he finishes creatively. But the physical tools, which are not really like Dwayne, are the broad shoulders. And Donovan loves his cutoff sleeves. You'll notice this even in his warm-ups. He never wears sleeves. And then he's 6'2" ish, he's listed at 6'2", and his wingspan is actually 6'8". So that's the other aspect of him that really makes him such a good finisher. And he was a pretty good, he's obviously wasn't what he is now, where he's scoring 45 points in the playoffs. He was a good finisher as a rookie, and nobody really knew that. I mean, the Jazz didn't even know that. The Jazz were like, oh man, here's a guy who we think can be a really valuable defender. And then they bring in Donovan and get him working with Johnny Bryant, who's now with the Knicks, and who I think had a really big hand in Julius Randle's year. And all of a sudden he's like finishing, and they needed a leading scorer, and he just was that as a rookie. So it's just really cool to see just the change in perception, because it takes years, it takes time to build that up credibility wise in a market like Utah when you're talking about the nation. So Donovan's getting there, and that's very cool to me to see.
Fernando, you got Kyle going. This is why I wanted Kyle on the show. He's a basketball expert. I'm learning a lot, especially from Donovan Mitchell and his physique. So we got it all covered, the bubble. But Kyle, I know you got to get going, but I really appreciate the time and you jumping on the show. Compas on the Beat.
No problem. Thank you guys for inviting me. I appreciate it.